So, yeah, I think the difficulty for Conor Benn in this fight is the weight and is the size. I think he's a better fighter. And I think at a natural weight class, he's a big favourite in the fight. But coming up 2 weight classes, it makes it a 50-50 fight. And you ain't going to blink in this one.
Eddie Hearn doesn't sugarcoat it. Conor Benn is walking straight into dangerous waters. And the biggest challenge isn't just skill, it's size. Jumping up 2 weight classes isn't a minor adjustment. It's a complete game changer. At his usual weight, Benn would be the clear favorite. But now, everything is up for grabs. The difference in power, physicality, and endurance turns this into a brutal test of his adaptability. One wrong move, one moment of hesitation, and it could all be over in a heartbeat. Both fighters pack serious knockout power, meaning there's zero room for error. The real question is, can Benn overcome the size disadvantage and prove he belongs at this level? Or will the weight jump expose the limits of his power? In a fight where nothing is certain, one thing is clear: this is a high-stakes battle where anything can happen.
He's an animal with a hot head. And as soon as that bell goes, you've only got to watch Nigel Benn's fights and Conor Benn's fights in his career so far to realise he's going to set about him from the first.
Eddie Hearn isn't holding back. Conor Benn is a relentless force in the ring. A fighter with an untamed fire that refuses to be extinguished. From the opening bell, it's not about feeling out the opponent, it's total war. His career and his father's legendary battles prove one thing. Benn doesn't hesitate, he destroys. But here's the question, will that same aggression be enough against a bigger, stronger challenger? Charging in from the start is a high-risk strategy, and against the wrong opponent, it could lead to a brutal downfall. This fight isn't about playing it safe, it's about domination. Will Benn's relentless attack overwhelm his opponent, or will he charge straight into danger and pay the price? One thing's for sure, this fight isn't going the distance.
You know, for all the promotion, for all the nonsense, for all the crap, you've got 2 fighters here. Might not be for a world title, but if you want to see a scrap, you're going to see one, because these two like to fight. Look at their careers. They are the fighters. They are the brawlers. They love it. And they only know one way. And that's what's going to happen on April 26th. They're going to meet in the ring, in the center of the ring, and they're going to go off. And that's why the casual fans are going to...
Ben Shalom isn't sugarcoating it. This fight is as raw as it gets. Forget the belts. Forget the hype. Forget the mind games. This is about 2 pure fighters. 2 warriors who only know one way to battle. All-out war. Their careers prove it. No dancing around. No playing it safe. They step in to throw hands. And on April 26th, there won't be any cautious opening rounds or testing the waters. The moment that first punch lands, it's going to be absolute mayhem. This is the kind of fight that electrifies crowds, the type of showdown that turns arenas into madhouses. The question isn't if this fight will be explosive, it's how long these two can withstand the fire before one of them goes down. Expect nonstop action, because this one isn't going the distance. Drop your predictions and stay tuned for more hard-hitting boxing coverage.
But Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching it.
Joe Gallagher doesn't mince words when it comes to Chris Eubank Jr.'s relentless quest for independence. Determined to break free from his father's shadow, Eubank Jr. is carving his own path on his own terms, no matter the cost. But here's the unspoken truth. Despite his defiance, deep down, there's a need for validation. He won't admit it, but having his father in his corner, witnessing his success, would mean everything. It's the uncomfortable reality no one talks about. The bigger question remains, can he truly reach the top without that support? Or is he unknowingly fighting a battle against his own legacy? The weight of expectations is crushing, the pressure is undeniable, and now is the time to prove himself. This isn't just about boxing. It's about identity, legacy, and a fight far greater than any opponent in the ring. The clock is ticking, and his toughest challenge is unfolding right before our eyes.
A mismatch, you know, just as much a mismatch as the presses have been. It will be a similar format, you know, playing out in the physical. Chris is way too much, and that will become evident as the rounds go on in the fight.
Harlem Eubank isn't holding back when assessing this potential showdown, making it clear that he sees a major mismatch. Even from the press conferences, the gap between the two fighters was obvious. and he believes the actual fight will only highlight that divide even more. However, as the rounds unfold, Chris's superior physicality is expected to take over, making the difference undeniable. That's why Harlem predicts a one-sided domination, with Chris proving to be far too much for his opponent to handle. The real question is, will this fight play out exactly as Harlem envisions? Or is there an upset quietly building in the background, ready to shock the world?
It's his dad's son, and his dad's exactly the same. And the Eubanks and the Benns, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so there'll always be that family rivalry going on. And Chris's aloof personality, riles Conor, like his dad did, with their dads did. So
Johnny Nelson isn't holding back when it comes to Conor Benn, making it clear that his antics have gone too far. Benn has repeatedly stirred controversy with reckless statements and behaviors, something Nelson refuses to overlook. However, when discussing Chris Eubank Jr., Nelson takes a different approach, acknowledging his dedication and unwavering focus in carving out his own path. Meanwhile, Benn's actions have cast a shadow over his reputation, sparking endless debates among fans and analysts about his true character. Nelson sees a clear contrast while Eubank Jr. remains locked in on the fight. Benn finds himself entangled in distractions that could derail him. The real question is, will Benn's performance in the ring silence the critics? Or is he on the brink of letting the chaos take over?
I think sometimes I have a little bit of weight to train off. Not a lot, but and I think that's what Eubank's got, whereas Conor is already at the weight, or there or thereabouts. So that's also a benefit in the sense like he can now just completely fuel his training and fuel his performance. But it's always going to favour the bigger man. Always going to favour the bigger man. But age is the biggest factor for me.
During training, a particular strategy seems to work strongly in Chris Eubank Jr.'s favor. Analyst Jay argues that carrying extra weight gives Eubank Jr. something to push against, ultimately enhancing his strength and conditioning. That on the other hand, Conor Benn is already close to his fight weight, allowing him to focus solely on sharpening his technique and optimizing his training fuel. While this may appear to be the smarter approach, Migan believes that in a fight like this, size is a crucial factor, and the bigger fighter often has the advantage. However, Migan also highlights age as another key element. Despite Benn's superior conditioning, stamina and recovery could become major factors, potentially tilting the fight in Eubank Jr.'s favor. In the end, while both fighters have their respective strengths, it could be age and physicality that ultimately determine the winner.
Also, Conor Benn is a good pal of mine, so it's very hard for me to sort of sit back and say this or say that. I think they're doing a fantastic job in selling their fight. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. They both obviously have the needle with each other, and they're both going to give it everything. So be prepared for war, and I hope they get out of the ring.
Tommy Welch acknowledges that staying neutral in the highly anticipated showdown between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn is no easy task. With strong connections to both fighters, Welch reveals that Benn has even been training in his gym, making it even harder to take sides. Despite this, he commends both men for how they've built up the fight, intensifying an already fiery rivalry. One thing is certain, this will be an all-out war. Both fighters will enter the ring with something to prove, pushing themselves beyond their limits. With genuine animosity fueling this clash, it won't just be a fight, it'll be a battle of pride and determination. Welch's only hope is that both men leave the ring safely after delivering one of the most high-stakes, adrenaline-charged fights in recent memory.
We are on good terms. I don't believe he didn't know about it.
No,
If he,
you know I didn't know.
No, I don't, because I think you're a little bit snaky.
No, you know I didn't know.
No.
Don't talk.
No. Be quiet. Because,
No. You can't say things.
No, stop, because then I'll take you for. Listen, I've been very nice to you
but
lately.
you can't say
and I've
things
been very
after.
nice to you lately. I've given you a big education in the
Yeah, but
last
you
couple of
can't
weeks.
say things
I've told
after.
you were very lucky to be talking to me. Right. But we do get on well. We actually have a bit of banter. He actually, if you don't mind me saying, he was asking me potentially to go on Boxer's Ball.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Adam Smith couldn't hide his frustration as tensions continued to rise. While he maintained that relations between both parties were technically amicable, he wasn't convinced by claims of ignorance. Smith didn't hold back, calling out what he perceived as a calculated approach, making it clear he didn't buy the idea that the other side was unaware of what had been unfolding. His irritation was evident. He admitted to being overly accommodating, only to be met with dismissive responses. However, Smith still found a way to inject humor into the situation, recalling some hilarious moments they had shared. Even in moments of tension, there was still room for laughter. At one point, he even half-jokingly mentioned the idea of joining them on Boxers B, sparking speculation about whether it was just a light-hearted remark or something more. Despite the underlying friction, their connection remains complex, leaving plenty of unanswered questions hanging in the air.
I didn't know he was going to pull an egg out of his pocket and slap it around his head, but, you know, it was always going to be some form of drama. And, yeah, it was always going to happen. It spiced it up. Like I say, I wasn't really surprised by it. Maybe a little bit stupid, maybe not a little bit stupid. You know, maybe there was going to be something that's going to happen. Was it going to be Conor Benn? Was it going to be Chris Eubank Jr.? But I think that shows you the rivalry between these two and the feuds between.
Spencer Oliver, on the other hand, wasn't entirely surprised by the infamous egg stunt, though he didn't expect it to escalate into such a bizarre spectacle. With the tension between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., some kind of dramatic moment was inevitable. Oliver points out that while the egg slap seemed ridiculous on the surface, it was actually a symbol of the deep-seated rivalry between the two fighters. This bout has never been just about boxing, it's personal. That moment wasn't just an absurd antic. It was a statement, a culmination of years of lingering hostility. Benn and Eubank Jr. have been circling each other for too long, and with emotions running at an all-time high, an eruption was bound to happen. Oliver sees it for what it is, fuel to an already raging fire. What began as a fight for pride has evolved into something far more intense. This isn't just a boxing match. It's a war, a battle of egos, a brutal showdown to see who will break first. And one thing is certain, this rivalry is far from over. What's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.